Hello, and welcome to Tales from the Twist, the podcast where we recap your childhood. My name is, of course, Joe Lewis, and I'm joined by my co-host, a man who is skunkier than Skunkman himself. It's Anthony Bull.
Hey, Joe. How are you?
I am great.
Yes.
If not for the fact that I have to record this with you.
Because I'm skunky. Because I
skunky.
smell. Oh, no.
I'm joking.
No,
you don't actually smell. I'm sure you smell very nice. I haven't got close enough to smell you, but I'm sure that you do smell nice. I'm sure that you are a clean man.
It's an odd compliment to compliment another male. Say, oh, you got a nice smell. Or
I didn't say
you got a worse smell.
I didn't say
like,
you had a good smell. I said I'm sure you have a good smell.
I probably do. I don't know.
You probably do.
I probably don't have a smell, and that's the thing because I just showered, so probably smell like not and whatever the hell the smell of the bath products were.
Sure.
Yeah.
We are talking about smell because we're looking at the 4th season episode of Around the Twist, episode 12. It's Skunkman.
Yes, Skunkman.
Skunkman. Are you excited to talk about Skunkman?
I am excited to talk about Skunkman. Here's the hero that,
He's the hero that you deserved, but not needed.
Yes. Oh, well, yeah, actually, this time it's totally apt. Yeah, it's what we deserve. It's what Port Niranda deserves for all their weird bullshit. Not what they need, but definitely what they deserve.
Let's talk about Skunkman, written by Espen Storm. I thought he was dead by this point. Evidently, he's not.
No, but it kind of shows that maybe the Reaper's approaching. It's not very I'll save my review to the end. Just save it to the end.
Poor Espen. He always gets a hard knock from us. And not the Espen Storm that actually wrote the show, but of course Espen Storm that appears in your novel for copyright purposes and slander purposes.
I think he's dead, so you can't really slander a dead person, can you?
But the estate can sue you.
Well,
for defamation, right?
I don't know if they can, really.
If the estate for Espen Storm comes knocking on our doors, it's been a novel.
Never heard of it. Who's Espen Storm? What's a storm? Don't know what that is, mate.
Are you talking about the X-Men character?
Yeah. Are you talking about the X-Men character's dad, Espen Storm?
Espen Storm. All right, let's talk about Skunkman. We start off with the episode with a teaser, and this teaser was a little bit different to the past. There was a bit of a monologue, almost a Fallout-esque monologue, the deep voice recounting a bunch of things. And I'm going to read it out, and I wrote down all of it, so you can listen for yourselves. If you've not heard the episode, you can experience the magic. Smell, the most powerful of the 5 senses. Ever since his first whiff, our hero knew he had to possess the power of the Pong. From his early days of painstaking research, his heartbreaks and victories, searching the world, hunting, gathering odious odors, this young man came from humble beginnings to fight evil. He is now known throughout the universe as Skunkman. And then it pops up in a comic book font, Skunkman.
And then it says, war never changes.
What did you think of the font, Skunkman?
I'm glad they didn't use Comic Sans. So that's about it, really. I mean, someone would have said, what font should we use? Oh, I don't know. What about Comic Sans? I mean, it's a comic after all. And they didn't do that, so anything is better than what they could have done, because that would have been the obvious choice.
Yeah, it was a blue and yellowy comic booky font.
Yeah, it's fine.
Your analysis is very surface level.
Skunkman,
for a font man.
Generic comic book TV show title card font. There's no other way to describe it. A colour, maybe.
I'm glad that
yellow.
I'm glad that we have an entire segment of this show devoted to fonts when all you ever do is say, yeah, it was okay.
It's fine. It's fine. I don't know. It's your segment anyway. You're like, where's the font?
I'm interested to know what you think about fonts, being a man who spends a lot of time thinking about fonts.
That's all right,
And you give me nothing.
Yeah, well, maybe they need to try harder to impress me. They just start trying. They're not trying. They should go back to school.
We open the main section of the episode, the actual episode itself, in the lighthouse kitchen. Everyone's busy. Tony's raging at someone because somebody left the margarine out. Don't leave the margarine out because, apparently a chef told me once that margarine left out in the garage overnight, cockroaches won't eat it because it's one molecule away from being plastic.
Yeah, that sounds like your chef is full of shit, to be honest. I'm just going to...
Do you eat margarine, Anthony?
Well, like with a spoon.
No, well, do you use margarine?
Yeah, I guess.
That's disgusting.
I use margarine.
Margarine is disgusting.
How it's like canola oil, Brad.
No, use butter like a normal human.
It's canola oil. It's canola oil turned into bloody the same thing that you use butter for. It's
It's a big, gross. I always remember like the Woolworths round tub, and you like scrape it, and it's like, bleh, and you put it on your bread, and it goes. Bleh.
And I use like I don't just use that. I use like olive oil spread,
Ugh.
and some other stuff.
What are you, a 50-year-old man with cholesterol problems?
No, because then I'd be taking that other stuff that helps me lower my cholesterol down. But you
Swiss.
should take that bloody cholesterol lowering stuff, Mister. Bloody, I'm going to be ending a early grave.
I'm a young man. Multiple doctors have told me, don't worry about it yet. Just get into good habits and you'll be fine when you're older. I do have, by the way, for some of our newer listeners, I have high cholesterol. A man being
Or maybe
27
you should
with
take
high
some
cholesterol.
of that margarine.
Yeah, apparently I should be, but I'm a man, so I'm going to eat real butter.
Give me butter or give me death is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically.
Well, what's the point in living if you can't enjoy butter?
I love salt. I use a lot of salt, and my girlfriend.
Why your cholesterol so fucking
Well,
high?
it's hereditary. Apparently, it's a hereditary.
Well, salt
reason.
isn't helping.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not helping. But I use a lot of salt, and my girlfriend says, "Do you want to die? Do you want to die?" And I'm like, "Well, if it means not having salt,
Yeah.
then yes,
We all have to die sometime.
I will die."
I'm going to die on my own terms.
Everyone's busy, and Tony's raging, and Faye's pregnant, so she's clumsy as well, and she spills a bunch of milk and cereal on her belly, and she's like, "Oh, I've done it again." And Tony's like, "It's no use crying over spilt milk and cereal."
Yeah.
Good one, Tony.
Good on
Go
you,
smoke
Tony.
another bong, you dickhead.
Yeah.
Faye says, the amount the child's been kicking, it must be a footballer. And Pete says, it must be a boy. And Linda says, girls can do anything boys can. And then Pete says, girls can do anything they want with me.
Wow.
Yeah. The innuendo's taking a whole new level here.
Man, he just really wants to drive home the point that I really like girls. I really do. Just hope you all know that. I really like girls. I have to say that every 10 seconds.
It's odd, isn't it?
It is. The amount he talks about it, it's like, he probably is. There is something there because it's like, why he's compensating for something otherwise.
Anthony has had a long-standing theory that he thinks that season 3 and 4 Pete is gay, and this episode is not doing that theory many favors. Like
It's helping the theory.
It's helping the theory. It's not helping Pete.
No.
If of course Pete is straight.
Well, if Pete is gay, I mean, it's like it's helping him realize that he's gay. I don't know.
Yeah, well, like whatever your perspective is, I'm sure it's good or bad or whatever. Like, I'm sure it's a nothing really. It's just there's two reasons for why it could be like this in the script. One, the writers were just like, he likes girls. Let's just push it.
Yeah, let's
that's
remind
the
people
one
that's
aspect of his personality.
Character,
That's his character now. He likes girls. Or the other one was he really likes boys. Let's make him in denial.
Yeah, well, it could be the subtext.
Is it the subtext?
Yes.
Or are you just reading too deep?
I don't know.
And Tony says, I just want it to be a good person. And Bronson says, if all the good people stood up to the bad, evil would be no more. And they're like, yeah, right, Bronson. Yeah, get out of here.
Now, I just want to cut aside. I don't want to cut aside to that point that you just said there, Bronson. All right. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. All right?
Why?
Well, because, okay, just replace the word evil people with Jews. Now, how does it sound?
If all the good people stood up to the bad, Jews would be no more.
Or if all the good people...
That's going to be taken out of context, isn't it?
Well, if all the good people stood up to Jews, there'd be no evil in the world or something like that. Well, that's my point. It's like, you say, what defines evil, for starters? And
Exactly.
And then if the majority defines evil, they can then just say, oh, this minority group is an evil group. Let's get rid of them because that will make everything better. And that's this forced morality crap that Bronson does throughout this episode. And I'll get into more of it. Of course we will. But I just want to point out that's my stance on Bronson. I don't like his Cape Crusader crap. All right? Don't like it.
I say this all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm a person who believes in the grey morality. I believe that there's no real such thing as good and evil. I think good is defined by your own personal objectives. If that aligns with it, then that's good in your perspective, right?
Yeah.
Basically, the way I stand on superheroes is, why are you pushing your agenda on me? You're basically the police, but you're unqualified and you're a rogue cannon.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, why should your perspective of evil be defeated? What if my perspective of evil conflicts with your perspective of evil? Because you're the guy that wears your underpants on the outside and a bandana on your head. You think you can run around and kill whatever you think is evil.
Now, I don't mind necessarily if it's requested assistance for a weaker person who's like, I need help. Please help me. I wish someone would help me, save me from these evil people. But when it's not as clear cut, and there could be a bit of a grey area, and it's not really hurting anybody, then you forcing your perception of what is good and moral on other people using unconventional means, or violating property rights as well, I think that makes you a bad person. You might have a positive outcome in the end for the rest of the world, but I still think you're a bad person. And I think that if you went with that idea that you're a good person doing all these things, you'll continue to violate property rights and other rights for the greater good. Sure. And then you end up with fascism, and you end up with people being shipped off to camps because it's for the greater good. That's how it works, people. Yeah. That's how it works. Wake up.
Is that what you want, Bronson?
Do you want that? Do you want people taken into trains and shipped off to camps? Because I think you do.
There's some loud music, and there's a shaking of the lighthouse. Some loud guitar music. And Tony says, it's an earthquake. And Pete says, no, it's an electric guitar. It's a Stratocaster.
Yeah.
And they rush outside. The Twists rush outside, and suddenly they're joined by Nell, who just appears. It's like, oh, hi, Nell. Where have you been for the last 4 seasons? Oh, I'm here. I don't like music. She'll be gone in a scene.
Yeah.
So, who cares?
Remember me? I'm Nell. I'm the old person who lives here.
What do you do, Nell?
Yeah. And where's their house coming from?
Yeah, there's suddenly a house here. Where was this house come from?
Sure wasn't Nell's. We know that.
It wasn't Nell's house. It was a different house. It just happened to be there. And Gribbles rented it out, and he says us a couple of things to these people. He says, like, oh, I've rented out this house for community band people, for the young people in the community to do bands. And they're like, oh, okay. And so Beastmaster's playing inside. Beastmaster being the Gribble Gang's band from a couple of episodes ago. The Shadow Player. Was that last episode?
Yeah.
Was it? No, it was 2 episodes ago, because last episode was Radio Data.
It was. Last episode was Radio Data.
The memorable episode that was.
Shadow Player was the one before that, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I just said.
Yeah. So, you are indeed correct, Joseph.
Thanks for confirming me.
I can confirm you and take you into the chapel.
So it turns out that Gribble has hired this house as part of a plan to move the Gribbles out, to move the Twists out because of the loud music.
Of course, the loud music will drive them away.
And we have people write in every week, listeners write in every week, and they tell us what they thought of the episode. And we've got a couple of thoughts here from a few listeners, and we call this segment Pontillo's Pontifications, because of the man who wrote in and decided, hey guys, can I contribute to your episodes? And we said, sure, Pontillo. And now we've got a couple of other people that do it as well. So this week we have thoughts from Regan Pontillo and Nate Holmes, or Nathan Holmes. I think he goes by Nate Holmes.
He does.
He said in a letter to us before. So we've got a couple of notes here from Pontillo, and Pontillo says, while Beastmaster is playing, Harold said, these guys really go off. And Nell says, yeah, like prawns in the sun. It's like, oh, thanks, Nell. Thanks for your contribution.
Good on you, Nell. You're so good at this.
Harold likes to riff on these rock and roll sayings throughout this episode, even though Beastmaster are very clearly like a punk rock band, or maybe even a light metal band, something like that. He says all these rock and roll references throughout the episode, so he basically speaks in those. Mm-hmm. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. He says, rock and roll ain't noise pollution, big mama, in saying to Tony, you know, we're allowed to be polluting the air because I'm the mayor and I can do whatever I want. And Pontillo says that this is a reference to an AC/DC song, Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution, a song that I'm very familiar with.
Yep.
Did you come with me to see AC/DC? You didn't, did you? You came with me to see Iron Maiden.
I came with you to see Iron Maiden, yeah, that is correct.
And
you know who's coming up we should go see?
Who?
The Gunners.
Guns N' Roses?
Yeah, they're back, and they're, like, together. Not like, bullshit.
Well, they're not really together. It's Axl Rose and Slash. The rest of them are missing.
Like anyone gives a shit about the rest of them, honestly.
I guess the spaghetti incident must have been resolved. I don't know.
Yeah, it had to be. Well, you know what it was? You know what resolved it?
What?
The money incident.
The money.
They were like, "Oh shit, that's a lot of money we can make together."
Yeah, well, a lot of people have been dying to see Guns N' Roses too for a long time, but that's besides the point. Harold says, "Take a whiff in here. It smells like Teen Spirit," and so Pontillo says that's a reference to "Smells Like Teen Spirit" by Nirvana, which we got as well. But also, I think it's a double-handed reference to the plot of this episode, which is about smells.
Yes, I do believe it is. And a lot of it was because you got these guys are going off like prawns in the sun.
Yeah.
That's another smelling. Yeah.
Nate says that he thinks that this is a Footloose-inspired plot, except Kevin Bacon is the bad guy. So he's saying that Beastmaster, they just want to play their music.
Yeah.
And Tony is a guy who doesn't like music. There can be no music in this town, especially not till 11 o'clock at night, as when the council says you're allowed to play music too, which I think is fairly reasonable. What do they say, 9 till 8 or something?
They said 8 a.m. till, I think it was 10:30 p.m.
11 p.m.
Or 11 p.m., which is standard.
It's fairly okay. Especially if you're a struggling teenage band, you got to get your practice in.
A lot of people violate those rules all the time. Like, you'll have the other people, and I'm not talking about the people who play it late at night. I'm talking about the people who get revenge on those who play music late at night. Like, they're the people who, they'll play music till like 3 in the morning, and you'll be kept awake. So what other people do around that house is at 6 a.m. they all get up like they normally do, and they think, oh, it's the weekend, it's time to mow the lawn. And they all get out their mowers and mow the lawn because they know that those kids have a massive hangover and only got like 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
And they wake them up. They're still violating the rules, but, I reckon it's okay.
I think it's a lot worse to be noisy in the morning than it is to be at night. I think if you're going past 12:30 at night time, I think it's like, all right, quiet down a little bit. You can still have your music, but don't make it so loud that I can hear it 4 houses down.
I don't think they should have it loud enough that you can actually make people not go to sleep.
I'm a fairly light, heavy sleeper, I guess. I can sleep through pretty much anything. But where I used to live, these people would consistently have these parties once every couple of months or so, about 4 houses down, and it was so loud at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, just like super loud. They're having like Project X parties down there. They had jumping castles and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing? It's 2 o'clock. Like, if I can't sleep, every other person in this neighborhood mustn't be able to sleep, because I can sleep through basically anything.
Well, see, this is interesting because they're not violating necessarily any form of property rights or personal rights that we conventionally would understand or readily say, right, you just hit a person. We can identify and say that's a bad thing. This is a very dicey issue for people like you and me.
Being libertarians.
Yeah,
is what you're alluding
pretty
to,
much.
Yes. I don't know. It's just like, don't be a dickhead, really.
Yeah. I think that should be the mantra for life is don't be a dickhead.
Yeah, it's a pretty good mantra.
Just don't be a dickhead, man.
It isn't hard. At school, Bronson's picking up rubbish and he's breaking up fights, and he says to the camera, evil is everywhere. And these two twins are fighting over this toy, I guess, this Barbie doll, and he tries to split them up, and they start pulling him apart, and he says, evil can tear you in two. So I got a very strong Rorschach vibe from Bronson this episode, especially being a redhead. You remember Rorschach from Watchmen?
Yeah.
Watchmen's great, by the way. If you've not read Watchmen, reading Watchmen is an experience. I'm not a comic book guy, but I've read this book, Watchmen, maybe a couple others as well. Not too many. I've probably read like 3 comic books in my entire life, but Watchmen is great. Watchmen stands alone as a book. It's about the complex morality of superheroes and whether or not they should be allowed to do certain things. Should they exist? Who watches the Watchmen? It's the key line from the phrase in reference to, it's basically about...
It's in lines that they have the power and ability to enforce morality and enforce law, but who watches them to ensure that they are not being immoral?
And it's basically a large analogy for the police in Nixon America or even modern America.
To which Nietzsche would say that those with the power to exercise and basically do... those with the power to do what they do, the superheroes, they don't need anyone's moral authority to do it. It doesn't matter. It's he who has the power to enforce. That's what matters. But then you have other people who'd argue, obviously, that that's not going to work as a societal thing. So, like, what is it? John Stuart Mill?
Sure. Why not?
Fucking, he wrote, whatever it is, utilitarianism.
Oh, okay.
He's the guy who came up with that, or at least was the father of it.
Yeah, I think if I agree with the sentiment of Watchmen, and if I read it right, it was saying, who watches the Watchmen? If these people are in control, if the police are able to arrest you for basically doing anything, like with the Patriot Act in America or, the terrorism laws we have in Australia, police can arrest you basically without cause, as long as it's terrorism related. So if they knocked on our door right now and said, we have reason to suspect you guys have a terrorism podcast, we'd be like, oh, what? No. We might have said the word terrorism once or twice. What are we going to do about it? Nothing. They can just arrest us and keep us without charge for however many days.
And then if you're one of those elites, you can just get away with it. So it should really be who watches the Hillarys, if you know what I'm saying.
Are you referencing Benghazi?
Yeah, I'm referencing the private email server, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, apparently Hillary did Benghazi, much like Bush did 9/11.
Yeah, she did ISIS too, apparently. I don't
know. When you get that high level in government, it's hard to...
Well, Julian Assange reckons he's got something that's going to, nail it for good. It's like, well...
Assange, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
We'll wait and see, eh? We'll wait and see
Snowden,
what Assange puts out.
Snowden's the new Assange, really, isn't he?
Snowden hasn't done anything for ages.
Well, neither is Assange. What's Assange done in a while?
Hide
in an Ecuadorian embassy. That's what he's done.
Yeah, and he releases some WikiLeaks stuff.
Yeah, but did he do that, or did WikiLeaks do that?
He did that. He's still operating WikiLeaks.
Yeah, but he has people that gather the stuff. He just sits in the Ecuadorian embassy.
Well, I imagine he's got to do something. I don't know.
He just has cucumber sandwiches and tea with the Ecuadorian ambassador.
Well, what else would you do with the Ecuadorian ambassador? He's probably sick of you in there. He's like, oh, fucking Julian Assange sleeps on my couch. He tells sleeps on my couch. Doesn't pay any rent. All he goes on and on about is the crooked U.S. political system and how the hegemony, blah blah blah. Fuck me, what a boring person.
That'd be a pretty good sitcom, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
like
me and Assange.
Me and Assange. It's like in BoJack Horseman where Todd sleeps on his couch.
Yeah,
Julian Assange is basically
it's the original
Todd.
Odd Couple. One's an Ecuadorian diplomat, and the other is a WikiLeaks founder, and there's conflict there.
Yeah, anyway, back to the episode. The Gribble gang hold up a kid and they're stealing his lunch, and Bronson says, "Unhand that child!" And the Gribble gang laugh at him, and then they're like, "Oh, we're gonna rob him. You stand up to us, we'll get you." And this girl shows up out of nowhere and just beats the crap out of these Gribble gang members. Just like bites them and punches them and knocks them around. And they're like, oh, you gotta be saved by a girl, Twist. You're next. We're gonna get you. You're gonna be saved by a girl. How embarrassing.
Yeah, so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing to be saved by a girl.
And Nate says, gotta be saved by a girl. Did not realize that was meant to be a girl. It's a fairly...
boyish-looking girl.
Androgynous-looking girl, yeah. She has a flower on her head. I think that's how you're supposed to know how that she's supposed to be female.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could have chosen somebody with longer hair, I guess.
There was a lot of gender swapping this episode. Or a lot of swapping of some form.
Well, it seems to be the theme.
Not this episode, but this season.
It seems to be the theme of season 4, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you got the knight, you've got Bronson, we'll come up to that a little bit later, and you've also got, what's his name? Pete turning into the dog.
Yeah, and he gave birth. Was that last season?
That was last season.
Yeah, he's still the same character, though.
Same character, so you guess you could say that the continuity of the plot's
the
same.
Vikings were last season as well, and they were. They had some gender identity issues.
They did this, yeah, so you're right. There is like this whole gender identity mix up these two seasons, and I don't know if that's because we're reviewing it from our time period
where that's a hot button issue.
Hot button issue. Because back then it could have been, this is funny. They're boys, but they're gonna dress like girls. That's not expected. That could just be it. It could be as innocent as that.
Bronson says evil has many faces, and the girl says it's got ugly ones as well.
Yeah.
It turns out that this girl is called Lois, as in Lois and
Lane.
Clark,
yep.
as one of our listeners points out a little bit later. But Bronson's walking home with his smell machine, and then he falls in a big pile of mud. Just falls in the mud. He's just like, falls in the mud. And this van goes past, and it crashes. It's like, it careens out of control, crashes, and dirty nappies go everywhere, because apparently this was a dirty nappy van.
They exist somehow.
It's like a dedicated service for picking up your dirty nappies. It's like Netflix, but for picking up your dirty nappies.
That is not the worst idea in the world. But it would have to be in a CBD area, right? It had to be like in apartment blocks you could do that.
Yeah.
Because but then again, it defeats the purpose, because the only reason why you'd want dirty nappies is if you throw them in the bin, it's shit in the bin. It attracts flies and maggots and all that other gross shit.
It's probably cloth ones, right?
Yeah, I imagine they are, yeah. So it's got to be a children's hospital nappy.
Well, it could be a children's hospital.
So that makes
but then they would have a whole lot of other biological waste in there as well.
No, it's just the nappy van.
It's just the nappy van.
It's just one van exclusively for nappies. And what if it's old people nappies as well?
But there are a lot of nappies in there, like a lot of nappies.
Maybe he's a weirdo. Maybe he likes to collect nappies.
He just goes around and steals them from people's bins.
He says, I'll take your nappies for free. And people are like, whoa, I can't say no to that.
What is he doing with these dirty nappies?
None of my fucking business, is it? He's going to take away these stinky, dirty nappies.
Anyway, the van crashes, there's dirty nappies everywhere, and the bystanders can't save the driver because the smell is too strong. There's too much dirty nappy smell in the air. Did you ever think that you would say nappy as much as we have in the last 5 minutes?
No. Never.
As someone who does not have children, nor can I. And Bronson...
Wait, hang on. Nor do I, Joe. I didn't realize you had no testicles.
No, can I imagine that I would say nappy so much,
okay,
nor
cool.
can I have children?
Because it sounded like you were saying, nor can I have children. I'm like, well,
just because...
That's a way to break that news publicly. Fuck me.
You can have testicles and still not be able to have children.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
There are multiple reasons why any person could not have children.
I know. I'm just saying, man. That was a weird thing that to just publicly announce. But it wasn't. But you were saying it as something else.
Learn to speak English, Anthony. I said, nor can I imagine that I would say nappy as much. Nor can I have children.
It sounded like... That's what it sounded like to me. Listeners, just comment below.
This is what you said.
Yeah.
You said, I said you do not have. You said you don't have. I said you don't have children, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, I can't have children. And then I said,
no, I didn't say no. I can't have children.
I don't even know what we're talking about.
I don't know anymore.
Bronson suddenly rolls up with his gas mask on, and he's "Stand back, citizens." And Pontillo says, "Well, I guess we now know what in that delivery from Skunk Enterprises was. It was a gas mask."
Fair enough.
So this is what he got.
Yeah, he spent a lot of money on a gas mask, which isn't weird at all.
Well, he wants to be a superhero.
I saw a dude wear a gas mask in public the other day.
What?
On the train.
Are you serious?
I'm not joking. It wasn't like a full-on gas mask, but it was like, it was definitely like some medical painter's mask.
It wasn't like a SARS mask.
No, it was more than a SARS mask. It was like...
What'd you say? For SARS mask?
No, SARS mask. It was like a full-on plastic mask around his face.
Okay.
And, of course, naturally, some part of me wanted to go, why do you wear the mask? But other part was like, what the fuck's going on? I think he had a cold.
He wears the mask because he's a big guy, Anthony. That's why he wears the mask.
For you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Bronson, he comes over and he's got his smell sucker and he uses it to suck away all the smell. And he saves the driver. And then he runs away as fast as he can. He runs away with his smell sucker and his gas mask on. And the driver says, "Who was that gas-masked young man?" And the randoms that are standing around, they say, "I don't know, but did you notice that he smelled really bad?" He smelled really bad. And yes, he did smell really bad, didn't he? Because he fell in the mud.
He just naturally smells like shit.
Yeah, because he has all those smells in his room, I guess.
Yeah.
He's absorbing them. Anyway, they say, "Oh, he was like a half very short man, and he was also half skunk. So he must be a Skunkman."
Yeah, it must be a skunk man. That's an animal we don't have in Australia.
A skunk.
A skunk?
What is the equivalent? What would you say? If you had to describe somebody who was smelly, like as an animal, what Australian animal would you use to describe them?
I don't even know.
You just call them...
Stink beetle.
A stink beetle? You just call them a dopey wombat or something,
Dopey wombat, yeah.
You
dopey wombat man.
You dopey wombat. Go roll around and
Super wombat.
You probably call them a dog, right? Because dogs do roll around in their poo. That's what they do.
Yeah, I'd call him a dog. I'd say, "Oh, he stinks like a dog." No, dog man over there.
Dog man. We already had that episode.
We did.
In the lighthouse, Pete bursts into Linda's room because she's singing really loudly, and she's dressed like a hobo, and she's listening to a song called "Save the Fish."
I thought she was just singing the song. Save the fish, you gotta save the fish from destruction.
Yeah, she had headphones on there. She was listening to that.
Okay, so I guess she was literally listening to the song.
Yeah, I don't know.
Shit song, "Save the Fish" by I don't know.
I think
the Sea Shepherd Greenpeace Party.
No, I
Police.
think it was a Beastmaster song.
They really like their songs.
What?
Beastmaster,
Yeah, Beastmaster.
like the actual band.
What?
Beastmaster.
That's the band that the Gribble gang's
I know.
in.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think this is the whole thing. The band asked her and Pete to play with them. Now, apparently, they like Twists. Even
don't know
though
why.
they hate Pete every other episode. Now they want Pete to join their band. Who knows why? And
Well, Pete, I mean, it would be cool if it was established in a couple of seasons ago that maybe he can play the guitar.
yeah, maybe that could have happened instead. Oh, wait, it happened in season 1, which apparently is not canon anymore.
Yeah, so, but maybe they should have had something like that in season 3 or 4, and they could have been like, "Oh, Pete knows how to play the guitar. That makes perfect sense why he joined the band."
I'm sure he played it at some point, right? Didn't he play jazz? He was playing in
was.
that Gribble episode.
He was.
You am I am you.
Yeah, now he was playing the acoustic guitar in the Dog by Night episode.
Okay.
He's like, he was singing about the flea to come get me or something. But that's not enough to consider a rock band material.
No. Well,
And why the hell is she not rocking out her violin?
yeah.
That should have been tied in. She shouldn't have been the singer, right? She should have done some sort of like electric violin shit.
Electric violins are pretty cool.
They are fucking cool. So you could have had that in the band, and one of the other guys could have done keyboard, and fucking they could have been rocking out.
It could have been like a regular Iron Butterfly.
Yeah, it could have been like regular Iron Butterfly.
Iron Butterfly's great, by the way.
Yeah.
Have you listened to... I've made you listen to Iron Butterfly before, right?
I only know one of those songs.
Inagata La Vida?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a good song. It's a good song. It goes for 16 minutes. You
Well, it depends what version you listen to.
could listen to a
Because
21-minute version.
the myth goes that every time they recorded that song it was different because most of the song is just solos. So the drummer has like a 5-minute drum solo. There's a 5-minute keyboard solo.
Bum, bum, ba-da-da-da, dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun. And Linda says, I'm excited about being in this band because we're going to touch people. And Linda says, oh, you're just interested in touching girls. And I guess, he would be if he was straight.
Exactly.
And Pete says, I'm a boy. It's only natural, except the way that I've written it down, I've kind of curved the B and I've kind of put a little line next to the O by accident. So it reads... Accidentally, it reads, I'm a gay, it's natural. Which I guess fits in with your theory.
It does fit in with my theory quite well.
More evidence there. Linda and Pete are going to join Beastmaster, but Tony hates it, right? So they're going to disguise themselves by putting on big wigs. So they can be like, I don't know, a 70s hair metal band or something. Early 80s.
I don't get that. It's like, who are those people in wigs standing there? Could it be, like... Is it like when kids try to like dress up and pretend, like they try to hide themselves from a bully or something, so they try to dress up differently, or they put on like some outfit so they don't get seen? Are kids that delusional to think that your parents won't notice that you're that kid? You just happen to be wearing a wig?
Sure.
Yeah, man.
Why not? Yeah, why wouldn't Tony be able to recognize them?
Oh, maybe he does because he's a bad parent. And he doesn't even recognize his own children.
Just one too many bongs.
One too many bongs, and he's like, one of those kids is mine, or two actually. Just one of them. I don't know. Fucking no. All of the kids are his when Centrelink rock around. They're like, oh, all of them are mine. All of them are mine. You need the extra payment,
Yeah.
So he's got weed ain't cheap, man.
No.
Especially when you smoke it as much as he does.
Yeah. Bronson's walking home from school, and he's walking past the Beastmaster house, and he hears them playing the song Saved by a Girl, What a Wimp.
Oh, what a song. What a song.
Saved by a girl, what a wimp.
Saved by a girl, what a wimp.
There are some interesting songs out there, and I know a couple of weeks ago I listened to a song on 4ZZZ, which was...
Best station for... just stuff you'll never hear anywhere else.
My friend's sister's cousin from Woodridge, I think, is going to come and beat you up. That was the song. My friend's cousin's sister
from Woodridge
friend.
It's going to come and beat you up.
Yeah, that's basically what it's about. You know, getting somebody from, I think it was Woodridge. I don't know. Probably. Some terrible suburb.
Woodridge is a pretty shitty suburb.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I have to put a disclaimer out there. So, sorry if you're from Woodridge, because, well,
if you're from Woodridge...
I feel sorry for you if you're from Woodridge, and it's like...
Let's be honest, they're not listening to us because they don't have the internet in Woodridge. They don't even have dial-up.
They don't even have that.
They're too busy barricading their doors from the near apocalypse that's happening outside. They can't be worrying about going on Facebook.
You can't do that. No, you got to bar the door.
They're sharpening stakes. They're setting up palisades in their living rooms.
Yeah. That's why we got to build a wall, man. Around Ipswich. All around Ipswich to keep the Loganites out.
We'll make them pay for it.
Yeah, we will.
Bronson goes home and he gets his jars of smells. He's got rotten cheese, he's got dead mouse stink, he's got mouldy old jocks, and he's got fermented earwax. And he says, it's time for the good guys to stand up and be counted, even if there's only one of me. And I'll turn to a note from Nate, who's written in as part of Pontillo's pontifications, and he says, stand up and be counted is possibly a reference to a Ku Klux Klan song. Could Bronson's black and white view of morality eventually lead him to becoming a white supremacist? I'd say this is highly likely.
I say it's highly likely as well. I thought this is a weird thing to actually comment, but then I typed in exactly that, and it's like the top search result was stand and be counted, a Ku Klux Klan recruitment song. I was like, well,
yeah, you and I listened to it this morning for the first time ever, and it's pretty catchy.
It's catchy. It's a catchy old song. It's like an old song. It's like from the Civil War era style song. Yeah, and I was like, oh, it's one of those songs. It's not like new, I don't know, metal or something. And it's like, oh, I'm a racist singer. I'm singing about all the minorities and how I don't like them or whatever.
It's not the ISIS theme song by any means.
No.
They have like a rock music theme song.
ISIS have great themes, have great music.
ISIS, they try really hard, don't they?
They really do try hard. They go ham, all right? They go ham, full ham.
They're like, they're sitting around, they're smoking their hashish.
Hashish, yeah.
They're sitting in a big circle on their cushions and they're like, what can we do this week? Oh, I know, there's a mosque we can blow up. Okay, that's a good idea, blow up that mosque.
Blow up the mosques, radicalize the moderates.
Yeah. What else can we do? I don't know, let's blow up 3 shopping centers with children. Okay, that's a good idea, let's do that. Jamal, how are you going to the theme song? We are working on the theme song.
You want to hear some of this hot shit right here? Lifts the microphone, plays it through the loudspeaker. Says, "Oh shit, that's bouncing." Yeah.
Okay, now back to the children bombers.
Bomb that kid. Bomb them. Yeah.
We should not laugh at that, but
We shouldn't laugh at that.
if you can't laugh at things, what's the point?
What's the point in living if you can't laugh at the idea of ISIS ordering like suicide vests for children on Alibaba? Which is probably what they're doing.
The thing, right, with comedy, people always say, oh, there's things that are sacred you can't joke about. But humour, I've always stood that humour is a way of understanding reality, right?
Humor is a way of dealing with difficult situations.
Yeah, that's how you deal. And people say, like, oh, you know, when 9/11 happened, how hard was it to be funny? But it's like, there's humour in everything, man.
Yeah.
Like, just because something horrific's happened, I'm sure there's some sort of joke you can make. And there's something sacred, something horrible that happened? No. You got to joke about it. It's how we live. It's how we interact as humans. Saying you can't joke about things is like saying, you know, that's a next level of restriction. That's some fascist stuff right there.
It's also like, I think what it does is it ends up putting that on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Making it more important. It's like, oh yeah, these terrorist groups, you can't make fun of what they did. You can't joke about it. It's like, well, if you do that, then aren't you, in fact, empowering these terrorists?
Yep.
Because now you're too scared or you're too concerned to talk about it. If you laugh at their stupidity, it's like, well, it's business as fucking usual. Your terrorism didn't do shit.
A movie that we've recommended before is Four Lions, and if you haven't seen that, go check it out. It's
Yeah,
about
it's a great
some
movie.
Muslims who their aim is to blow up a mosque.
Yeah, and it's like, let's blow up a mosque. It's
Before that was an actual thing.
And then it's like, okay, it's like you're hitting yourself in the face with your own fist.
Yeah. It's a great movie.
That's a good movie.
Laugh packed. Bronson arrives at the Beastmaster band as Skunkman. He says, cease and demist, throw down weapons or suffer the consequences. And the band plays on, and so he throws out a skunk grenade and bombs them. And then he says, the pong is mightier than the song. Did I say bong? I meant bomb.
Bong.
The bomb is mightier than the song, but Tony might say that the bong is mightier than the song. Nate says, Bronson opposes embracing rock music, possibly a result of his white supremacy given the genre's influences from black musicians. Which is interesting that you say this, Nate, because white supremacist culture, as far as I know, is fairly influenced. There's a lot of skinheads and stuff that listen to heavy metal and
industrial metal.
Yeah. There's like a big hardcore punk rock scene that's the skinheads listen to, which is interesting.
The thing is, though, it depends where it comes out of, because a lot of industrial metal comes out of Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Right? So you go, Rammsteins and KMFDMs. 9 Inch Nails is the exception to the rule. You could argue that that's actually reinforcing the Aryan ideal of skinheads, because it's coming out of Eastern Germany. It's good because it's coming from Eastern Germans and they're the Aryan race.
If you want to see a cool punk rock skinhead movie, go see Green Room, which is about a bunch of people that get mixed up. They're a punk rock band that get mixed up with these skinheads who try to kill them. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
You wouldn't know if it's awesome. You haven't seen it.
I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's the best.
Yeah, but you can't say that it is.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 Anthony's.
10 out of 10 Anthony's out of 12. Gribbles, they want to bash up Skunkman. They're like, oh, we're going to bash you up, Skunkman. At the lighthouse, Tony's glad for quiet, and Pete and Linda walk in, and they're singing loudly, and Fiona's like, oh, I'm just disappointed that you joined Beastmaster because metal's not part of the culture. I don't like that you're doing things that I don't like. If you'd joined a band of music that I like, then I would be proud of you because I'm basically the man.
Yeah.
And I'm holding you down.
Yeah, it's like I would have preferred if you played Fish or John Butler Trio. But you got to play bloody heavy metal. It's too angry, man. You're harsh in my vibe.
Yeah, it's like my parents were like, oh, we're glad you listen to music and all, but do you have to listen to really depressive metal songs? It's like,
couldn't you listen
Step off, man! Step off!
Couldn't you listen to folk music? I was in a folk music band.
Yeah, my dad was in a folk music band. Did you know that?
Yeah, you told me that once. I was like, what? That's crazy.
I do listen to folk metal occasionally, so I guess that counts.
It sort of does, I guess.
Anyway, Pete says, it speaks to me. The music speaks to me. It's about power, anarchy, and everyone's like, it's about the girls. You love the girls. And he's like, yeah, I love the girls. And
I do. I love the girls. I love them. I love them. Yes, you heard that correct. I do love the girls.
And Linda says, I was using the music to get in touch with my real feelings. And Tony says, I know my real feelings. And he mimes strangling. It's like, Tony, you're a terrible father. You've just mimed choking your children.
It's like if the eyes of the world weren't watching me, I'd choke you.
I'd call a kid's helpline immediately if Tony was my dad. I'd be like, hello? They'd be like, child helpline, can we help you? But my dad's a massive bonghead and he just threatened to strangle me. And they'd be like, all right, let's talk about how you feel.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm sure kids helpline are great.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're great. I'm sure they'll also teach you how to read.
That's 13006
It's a good place to start.
If you need help and you're a child, you should read
13006.
Yes,
That'll point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Like literally,
Why not?
if you need to find a place, just be like, because think about it. If you can't read, where else are you going to fucking go? If I told you to search Lifeline on Google or Kids Helpline on Google, you don't even know how to spell Kids Helpline on Google.
That's a good point.
So it's like, just call them and say, I don't know how to spell because I'm terrible at writing.
If you need anything, right?
Just call them.
If you need to know something, call the not Kids Helpline.
Read more writing like that.
Yeah, 13006 and I'm sure they can point you in the right direction, whatever that direction
You're
might
just
be.
going to say, I don't know how to read. Please tell me the Kids Helpline number. And they'll go, oh, okay, well, it's this number, and boom, just write it down.
Yeah, I'm sure they've got
then
Google.
You will say, I don't know how to write. And they'll say, well, you're up shit creek, son.
That's really mean. Pete says, anyway, it's finished. The superhero bombed us out. And Tony says, oh, you think the same guy that did that was the guy that saved the van? Skunkman. And Bronson's coming down the stairs and he's shocked and they're like, oh, Bronson, have you heard of Skunkman? And Bronson's like, no, I haven't heard of Skunkman. And Pete's like, oh, that's typical. Of course he hasn't heard of Skunkman. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know anything, especially about smells. And the fact that he's got smells all around and he wouldn't have anything to do with somebody that suddenly has bombs of smells, something that we've seen Bronson do before. So, these two people couldn't possibly be related.
Yeah, couldn't possibly. My son could not be committing criminal acts.
And Faye says, I think Skunkman deserves a medal. Not Bronson, of course, because he's a dickhead.
Yeah, Bronson doesn't do anything, but that Skunkman, he's pretty cool.
Yeah, give him a medal.
I wish my son was a bit more like Skunkman. Saying that at dinner party. Not the disappointment that it's Bronson before me. Shit, I said that out loud.
And Tony says, I wish you were Skunkman, Bronson, because then you could get me a bunch of skunk.
Because it's a drug. Yeah.
Skunk is another word for marijuana.
There you go. You learn something, kids, if you're listening.
Lingo.
There you go. You learn something new.
Yeah, roll on up to Skunkman.
Yeah, roll up to Skunkman. I've got the good one here, mate.
It's like the Pop Man. On bloody community television or whatever it was. We're coming down to the pot man. I've got pots, big pots, small pots, big pots, medium pots.
He's got pot everywhere.
It's back at school. The Gribble gang are accosting a child. I think it's the same child. Mm-hmm. And Bronson says, evil is a slow learner. And the Gribs are putting gross stuff in his face. And Skunkman shows up. And the Gribbles, they try to unmask Bronson. They're like, we're going to unmask you, Skunkman. But Bronson pong-bongs them. Bombs them. He throws another bomb at them, and they're like, yuck. And the girl from before, she loves Skunkman, and her name is Lois, and she's like, oh, I love you, Skunkman, you're the best. And Pontillo's written in, and he says, Around the Twist appears to have introduced two new characters solely for this episode. First, a classmate of Bronson's called Lois. This may be a reference to Superman's Lois Lane. She also has a resemblance to a young Terry Thatcher.
I think it's Terry Hatcher.
Who's that?
She played Lois in Lois and Clark.
Okay.
No, the New Adventures of Lois and Clark.
Yeah. The second, Elroy, I thought was Elrod, that Lois's younger brother. How did he know that he's Lois's younger brother? I thought this was just a random kid that was getting
I don't
picked
know.
on.
I'm not even sure. I thought it was. We thought it was L. Ron Hubbard for a second, right?
No, it was not the inventor of Dianetics and Scientology. Lois's younger brother, who gets picked on by James, Tiger, and Rabbit. Elroy becomes the primary motivation behind Skunkman's existence. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like it. I didn't like Elroy. I didn't like Lois. And I didn't like this whole Skunkman idea. I didn't like the creation of it. I didn't like the motivation for Skunkman to be born as being Elroy. I just didn't like this entire Bronson-focused culmination of a season or a character arc.
Who likes Elron anyway?
Yeah, who likes Elron anyway? Bloody E-meters holding bloody metal penises in your hands.
Will Smith, Tom Cruise, that's who.
Yeah, and what's his face?
John Travolta.
John Travolta, who
what were you going to say? The gay man.
Yeah, the gay man. I was just going to say the gay man. Because...
Just like Pete, it all makes sense now.
Well, it does. I mean, I was listening to a Louis Theroux on the Joe Rogan Experience the other day.
Yeah,
and they were talking about they're talking all about Scientology. You should listen to that episode. It was really good.
I like Louis Theroux. I don't really like Joe Rogan.
But you like Louis Theroux. It was pretty good.
In class, Lois tells Bronson she thinks she loves Skunkman, but thinks Bronson's smelly.
Smelly, as in, I think you're Skunkman, and also you stink. You need to take a shower.
Yeah, basically. Later on, Bronson saves a postman from a dog. Whiffo! He bombs Beastmaster graffiti to save a cleaner from cleaning it. Kapow! And he takes scones from an old lady because she's made them for him. Because he's a hero.
Well, he's a thief. He's a dirty little thief.
She was holding them out for him, and he ran past really fast.
Yeah, I don't think so. I reckon she was holding him out, and he took them because he thought he was allowed to. He thought, I'm a hero. I deserve these things. I'm allowed to usurp and take your resources because it's for the greater good, and I've just vanquished evil. This is him turning into the evil fascist dictator. Right? Soon he'll be like, I'm going to take your money because I've done good. I'm a good person. I'll take your money.
Back at the lighthouse, Beastmaster is back, and they're playing, and Bronson's walking home eating a scone, and Gribble comes out, and he says a couple things. Pontillo's written down for us. He says, we get down, but we get back up again. And he says this is possibly a reference to Chumbawamba by Tub Thumping. Is that the name of the song?
Yeah.
We get back down.
No,
we get down. We get knocked down. We get knocked down.
Is Chumbawamba the band or is Tub Thumping? No, Chumbawamba's the band. Yeah, and Tub Thumping is the song.
Sure. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks for that. He also says we built this city on rock and roll, which is obviously Starship.
A reference to Starship, and not Jefferson Starship, or is that the same?
No, Jefferson's different.
They're different. Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite part of We Built This City is when boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, something. There's a big phone call in the middle.
Also, like in Knocking on Heaven's Door.
Yeah, there's a phone call in the middle.
Yeah,
it's like something. Get out of this life alive.
Yeah, get out of this life alive. Burp, burp. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Every time it comes on the radio, when I'm driving with my girlfriend, I start singing it, and she's just like shakes her,
shaking my head.
Because I know the whole song.
Yeah,
and I can do all the little whiny parts off key. So
you know what's a good
great.
song?
What?
Paradise City.
Paradise City. It's another good one to sing along to, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a fucking great
one. And we can both sing along to it if we go to the Guns N' Roses tour of Australia.
Unless they do the bullshit thing that they did at Iron Maiden, which has only played like 2 or 3 fucking songs that everyone really remembers.
I knew pretty much every song that they played.
It was not the songs that everyone wanted to hear, though.
They were the songs I wanted to hear.
You didn't want to hear any of their older stuff?
No, but I like stuff from all of their albums, so it was nice to have a big smattering. I thought it was a really good song list. Like they played the obvious ones, right?
They didn't play Run to the Hills. They didn't play 2 Minutes to Midnight.
Didn't they play? They played They played a couple of big ones, and they played Fear of the Dark, which is the best song that they play live.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
At least I played that. You knew Fear of the Dark, right?
Fear of the Dark.
Fear of the Dark. Yeah, it's a great song.
Mm-hmm.
It was also great when I saw, just talking about bands for a second, when I saw Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
It was like a couple of weeks before Iron Maiden. It was crazy. I can't believe that they all came at the same time. But anyway, seeing them play the end, they started off with the end. What is this that stands before me? That was great. Ozzy's like, hold his hands up like a grand wizard, and he's got this great big jacket on, and he throws it off, and he's like, oh no! He's great.
That's cool. He must be on a lot of drugs. Like he's gonna have to have a seat afterwards because like, oh man, my arthritis and stuff. I'll tell you what, fucking lead singer of Iron Maiden.
Yeah, he's looking alright.
He's what, 60, 50, 60 maybe?
Yeah, he's pushing 60.
He's jumping up and down with his bloody. He's like,
yeah, he had a hoodie on. He's running around stage,
and he jumps up and it's like
changes costumes.
You know what, mate, you're doing all right.
He's wearing a
and there was fire too.
uniform.
And I'm thinking to myself, how hot is that?
Yeah.
How hot would it be wearing that hoodie? You'd be like, oh shit, you got to be on drugs to keep your temperature down or something.
Yeah.
Because I could not deal with that shit.
He changed costume a lot. Like there are a lot of costume changes, and it's funny because he looks like quite good for his age, right?
Yeah, he does.
That's not a weird thing to say. He looks pretty good.
He's aging fine.
The rest of his band, some of them look like skeletons. Especially, I think it was one of the guitarists was basically just a skeleton holding a guitar, and another of them hadn't. They weren't that skinny, but they were a bit plump playing their instruments. It was really funny. These old decaying guys standing in the background, and what's his name? Ian Dickinson.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, he's running around, jumping on the stage,
fucking with his flag. He's putting a flag in front of the dude's face,
fighting this big monster.
It's great.
He stole his heart and ate it or something. I don't know. It was great.
It's pretty good.
They have awesome stage shenanigans on Maiden. Yeah, there's a large percentage of our audience that do not care about anything that we've said in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, I know, but just whatever. Get with it. Get good, son.
Get good. Like good music.
Yeah.
Gribble's wearing a gas mask and he's like, oh, they're not going to stop us this time. Ha ha ha. And then Skunkman, He shows up inside the Beastmaster gig, and they've got girls now, and they've got a lot of fans, so they're prepared for the Skunkman incursion. Everyone else runs. The girls run, Pete runs, Linda runs. I guess all the girls run. Oh, take that, Pete Twist.
Yeah.
But Skunkmaster bombs the Gribble gang, and the comic book Wet One comes up, and all of this rain kind of rains down on the Gribbles, and they're like, huh? What? And then they run outside, and everyone else is there, and they're like, you guys stink, and we're smelly.
Because I'm covered in stink, and it's not like a case where Bronson can just say, guys, I think we've talked about how you should turn down your music. Now, I think you and the Twist family should have a talk face-to-face, and I can mediate the conversation so that you can both broker a good deal so that you can have your band and they can live in peace. No, it's, fuck you. I'm not going to let you play any loud music because I'm Captain Fascism.
Whoop, whoop.
With my powerful I'm Bashar al-Assad, and I'm going to use my fucking chemical weapons against you.
That's the sound of the police. Anyway, in class, the Gribble gang is sitting in a corner surrounded by fans in isolation, and they're like, oh, we're so smelly, we can't integrate with the rest of the class.
Yep.
I've seen this before.
Yeah, is that a statement on the poor people in schools not being able to fit in?
Possibly.
I don't know.
At lunchtime, Lois is eating with Bronson, but thinks that Elron has some really smelly lunch, even though, it's clearly Bronson, because he's a disgusting individual.
It's because her phaetons are out of focus.
And Pontillo says, I noticed a Wave branded chocolate milk in Bronson's lunchbox. Flashback to my high school days. Appears to be a product of New Zealand. I haven't seen one of those bottles in years. I'm not sure if they stopped importing them into Australia at some point. Do you remember Wave chocolate milk?
Wave?
No,
but I remember
Dare.
Yeah,
everyone remembers
Move.
Dare. Move. Is that the one where they
What
do
is
the
love? Baby, don't hurt me.
We're going to get copyrighted so hard.
That's fine.
The Gribble gang, they're chasing Elron around, and everyone's laughing at them, and they're like, oh, you smell bad. And they're like, oh, I had to sleep outside last night because I'm so smelly.
Please stop making fun of me for something I can't control.
Yeah.
There's something here about that.
Sure, why not? Just throw that one in there.
And sue the school. That's what I say.
Later on, Lois tells Bronson that Elron is going to have to give Gribbles all of his money so that they'll leave him alone. And then Bronson sees robbers robbing a bank with shotguns.
Okay, so this is what I think is fucked, right? This episode kicks from 3 to 11 in about 2 seconds. You're like, oh, this is dumb. He's stopping school bullies. Okay, and then then you just hear, and then you see the camera, and there's two fucking people with masks with pump action shotguns walking into a bank. I'm like, holy wow, that escalated really quickly.
Pontillo says, I recognize the voice and partial face of the bank robber on the left. According to the Ren Twist credits, he is the actor Jim Russell, best known for his appearances in Comedy Inc.
Yes, Jimmy Russell's. With his friend Christopher Poole.
Skunkmaster shows up. The Skunkman. Skunkmaster would have been a cooler name, though. He shows up and he says, stop your evil ways. And the robbers are like, oh, what are you talking about, kid? And they pick him up and they're like, gonna shoot him in the head. But he farts, or sharts, apparently. I didn't really understand what happened here.
Yeah, it was not clear either. And
yeah, it's not really clear.
It's not clear till later. And you go, oh, okay, that's what happened.
Yeah, he farts and then knocks out the robbers. And then he kind of like limps away. He's like, oh. So obviously he's done a shart.
Yeah.
He's got a bit of poo in his pants.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, he goes to wash his uniform.
Because he soiled himself.
Yes. And Nate says...
See, here's the thing. Sorry. Before we get into that, I thought he washed his uniform because it was symbolic of him washing away the stench in his uniform and putting it away.
That's what I thought.
That's what I thought it was. I didn't think it was sharting. I thought it was just, he was just putting his uniform away for good.
Yeah, Nate says Skunkman's all washed up is a line from Bronson. Even Bronson believes that it's hard to recover after sharting yourself in public.
Well, it is, right?
How do you recover from that?
You don't. You change your name and you move to another city.
Have you ever sharted?
No. That's why I've never moved. So,
even just a little bit?
Not even a little bit.
Just a little bit.
No, I've never sharted in public.
Just a little bit of moisture.
Have you?
No, I don't think so.
Just a little bit? Just a little bit of moisture? Just a little bit?
Let's be honest. If you had sharted, would you tell people on a podcast?
No. You would not tell anybody.
Oh, yeah, I was sitting in a cafe this one time and I farted everywhere and there was poo. No.
He wouldn't tell nobody.
No.
No, never.
No.
Just wouldn't do it. Just fucking
wouldn't do
you just
it.
don't need to do that. It's not information that's critical, and fuck that shit. You don't need that playing at like, I don't know, you're in a court of law one day for some God knows other reason. You say, oh, you say you're a good man, but I have an audio recording of you saying you sharted in public.
Hello and welcome to Tales from the Twist, the show where we talk about sharding. When was the last time you sharded, Anthony?
Just the other day, of course.
I rule this man as guilty. A sharter cannot be innocent. In the lighthouse kitchen, Linda and Pete are doing their homework, and Bronson says, what happened to the band? And Pete says, musical differences. We like music, Gribble doesn't, and there's no way that girls are going to recognize me with a gas mask on.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Upstairs, Bronson's...
Hey, but Slipknot is all I'm saying.
What do you mean? He should kill himself? He should hang himself? Is that what you're saying?
With a Slipknot? No, I'm saying Slipknot. Most of them wear masks.
Yeah,
they're pretty
true.
famous.
That is true. Bronson's upstairs working on his smells, and he knocks out some birds, accidentally making a moisture, and he's like, whoa. But I'm retiring from being Skunkman. Downstairs, Pete says, he's writing about distractions, and he's like, it's so distracting having a girlfriend. It's distracting when you don't have a girlfriend. Oh, it's so distracting. Oh, my life is terrible. And this night enters, and she says, I hope I'm not distracting you. Remember, we're supposed to think that this is still a guy.
Yeah.
I think. And Pete says, no, even if you were a girl, I wouldn't be distracted because I've given up on girls. And Nate has a couple of things to say about this. And he says, is Ghost Knight not a girl? Maybe I'm just bad at ocular sexing of Australians. This is a girl, but you're supposed to think it's a guy because it's a knight because of gender. Whoa, girls can't be knights.
And it actually changes the interpretation knowing that.
And he also says, Pete equals gay confirmed.
Well, it kind of does, because if you're approaching this from the perspective that you don't know or it's ambiguous, this is set up as like a sort of awkward romance between the knight and Pete. And it's like, if you don't know the person, if you think it's a boy, then it's like this boy who has an interest in Pete, and Pete's just like, oh, I'm not really sure if I want to be in love with this knight character. So from the perspective of not knowing she's a female, this has to be somehow some sort of gay undertone there. How could you not interpret it as that? Because it's on its face value, that's exactly what it is.
That is exactly what's happening here.
Yeah.
And Knight says, not completely, I hope, giving up on girls.
Okay, so he likes he likes effeminate men.
Well, well, it's a weird the whole thing that's happening here is weird. Knock upstairs, the Knight leaves. Somehow, upstairs, Lewis has got there, past Pete, past the Knight, without anybody seeing her, and she says, oh, Bronson, Gribble is going to torture Elron until Skunkman shows up. And Bronson says, Skunkman is retired because I think he's a phony. Or he thinks he's a phony. And Lois is like, oh, but I think he was really brave. And Bronson says, even with the accident. So he's talking about the sharting, apparently. And she's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And Bronson says, superheroes only have enemies, not friends. And she's like, oh, I think some superheroes have friends. And he says, I'd help, but there's 3 things stopping me. 1, I'm not a hero anymore. 2, my suit's on the line. 3, I don't know where Gribble is. Loud music plays nearby, so obviously we know that they're in the Beastmaster lair. He's like, okay, so there's only 2 things. I've got an idea. Beastmaster are playing in the house, and Elron is inside, and the Gribbles have all got gas masks on. And Bronson, he shows up with a video camera. As himself, not as Skunkman. And Gribble says, just when you expect Skunkman, you get Wimp Man. And Bronson says, Skunkman will show up when the money's returned, the gas masks are removed, and Elron is set 3. The door opens, Skunkman enters with a smell surrounding him, and he moves his mask. It's not Skunkman at all. It's Lois standing there. And Gribble's really embarrassed that Skunkman was a girl, and Bronson's filming it, and he's like, oh, I can't let anybody see that I've been harassed by Skunkman, the girl. I better, steal this camera from you, Bronson. And then he knocks over the smell sucker, and the smell comes out and hits him in the nose.
Yep.
And is knocked out.
Because it's so disgusting.
And Bronson says, the foul stench of evil has been washed away. Later on, Gribble shows up at the Beastmaster lair, but they're singing terrible hip-hop now, and about how good Skunkman is. They're singing, Skunkman, he's so good, we love Skunkman.
And then there's rapping from Gribbles, and there's T-Pain auto-tuning as well.
Yeah, it's a 90s R&B hip-hop song.
Yeah.
And Pete says, shouldn't they be singing Skunk Woman and She?
Yep.
Get your gender binaries out of here, Nate.
Yeah, get out of here, mate.
We don't
Get
have
out of
any
here.
time for that.
We don't have time for this.
You should know better than that, you Canadian.
Stop ascribing a gender to that girl. Could be a boy. Don't know. You don't know.
You don't know.
Get out of here.
I think the whole moral of this episode was to tell us how terrible metal music is and how hip-hop is the savior of our time.
Yes, and how metal and hip-hop go really well together and are fantastic. And how Korn is a fantastic band.
The Beastie Boys are pretty good. They use elements of metal.
Yeah, I suppose they do. So does Limp Bizkit.
Limp Bizkit. Oh dear. And
Limp Bizkit is great until Fred Durst starts singing.
We also can't forget Can't Wake Up.
Can't wake up.
Wake up.
Wake up.
Can't wake up.
Can't wake up.
Everyone's dancing except for Mr. Gribble because he's dismayed that the Gribbles love this, the Twists love this music, and they're not going to move out anymore. And that's the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I didn't like this episode at all. Not at all. Not at all. I thought it was not very good. I understand what they were going for. They were trying to do this whole, they were trying to do this different theme. They're trying to do something different. I just didn't think it really worked. They even had American accents too at points. There were points where the lines were said with American accents.
Really?
Yeah. They said it with American accents.
Maybe that was on purpose.
And it was definitely on purpose, but it just didn't work for me. And what do you want to call it? A tonal shift from beating up schoolyard bullies to taking on men with shotguns. That was just like, wow, that's a little far. Like,
yeah.
That's the most escalated I've ever seen Around the Twist episode ever get. Yeah. I don't think you could even have that on Australian TV today.
There was that one episode with the criminals on the boat.
That's about it, though.
They
didn't
were
have
dangerous.
guns. They didn't have guns, though.
They were dangerous.
I've never seen a gun in a Around the Twist episode.
Yeah, that's true, because there actually is legislation. I don't know if this was introduced past this. Surely it must have been before. You can't have a gun in the same... Oh, no, actually, maybe I'm getting a couple things mixed up, but you can't have a gun in the same frame as a child on television in Australia.
Well, they might not have been in the same frame.
Maybe.
Because I don't know. But still, it's a little weird. I don't think it'd be hard to pass. Because, again, shotguns come out of nowhere. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I'm cool with that, but it's just such a huge escalation from anything else in the show, ever.
Yeah.
So I gave it... also, I didn't like Bronson being a mini fascist.
Okay.
So I gave it 2 out of 10 bowls of spaghetti and a side order of invaded civil liberties.
Sure. Let's hear from Nate, and he says, interesting to see Bronson's smell obsession subplot finally pay off. However, I thought that the main conflict of the episode was a bit bland. It would really be possible for Bronson to disrupt any Gribble plot with his stench bombs, but it would have been nice for the plot to revolve around something to do with smell. He's given it 4 out of 9 plates of spaghetti with rancid meatballs. Nice rating there. Hearing from Pontillo now, and Pontillo says, it's a superhero plot with most of the stereotypes thrown in. I found this episode rather lackluster in terms of plot, continuation, and substance. This could be because the build-up of this episode was so stretched out, basically from the beginning of the series, but it was good to see the conclusion and the rise and fall of Skunkman. 5 out of 10 bowls of spaghetti with a paddle pop. What's the paddle pop reference?
The kid must have had a paddle pop at some stage.
Bronson had a paddle pop at one point.
He did, that's true. So have you given your rating?
No, I haven't given my
I'm
rating.
Give your rating.
All right, then. Tell me what to do. You bloody Bronson fascist.
Fascists, do it or I'll throw you into the chemical chambers.
I'm going to give this episode a 4 out of 10 bowls of stinketti.
Stinketti, hey?
Yes.
Just like regular spaghetti, except it stinks.
Yeah. Typical season 4. What's going on? Just a whole lot of gender politics and not a lot of plot.
Yeah, pretty much. Girls can do anything. Girl power. Which is fine. Whatever. But whatever. All right. I just didn't like this episode. It was kind of stupid.
All right. Let's quickly go into a little bit of listener feedback because we have run out of the time. Quite a bit, actually. So let's get through this pretty quickly. We've got a couple of things from the Facebook page this week. Anthony posted something that I have apparently started a new podcast. So that's right. I have a second podcast now. It's called Survivor Mateship Edition. It's an Australian Survivor podcast based on Australian Survivor. If you want to give it a go, check it out.
If you like Survivor and you like this show, well, then yeah, just go listen to it. I don't like Survivor. I'll give it a listen. I'll give it a cheeky listen to see what it's like. But I don't like Survivor at all. So, but if you do, or you want to give it a cheeky listen, go give it a cheeky listen.
You should check it out. You should watch the first 2 episodes and see what you think because they're not that bad.
Listen to the episodes. Oh, the
Survivor.
Show. Yeah.
The show.
But also
listen to the show.
Just listen to Joe's show anyway.
No, because
it's a good fucking show. Probably is. I've never heard it. All right, because whatever. But I think it's a good fucking show, and they have a really good graphics.
Yeah,
so,
we've got a good graphic design. If you if you don't like Survivor, it's probably not the podcast for you. Because we delve in, we reference a lot of things from past Survivor, we talk about strategy pretty deep, and it might fly over your head. But if you're interested in that kind of thing, it could be the podcast for you. Stephen Walpole asked us to talk more about Battenberg cake, and I said if he listens to Survivor Mateship Edition, I'm going to talk about it on the podcast there next week.
So this community challenge reminds me of that time I had Battenberg cake.
Yeah, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find a way
to introduce it, eh? You have to look up what Battenberg. You have to like be. Oh, okay, I've never had that before. Because I looked it up. It's like some weird checkered pattern.
It's a Czech cake, basically.
Czech cake. I don't know. I'm not Czechoslovakian.
Referencing the play Away, we talked about Away in a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and Phil Bates said, I had to do Away in School 2. What a crappy play. You're a sane man, Phil Bates.
You are absolutely correct.
You have your senses about you because it was not great.
It was a shit play.
He said they spent too much time about people having a horrible holiday.
Yeah. That's
basically
what it was.
The plot.
It was that, and I have a blood disease, please have sex with me, but then the girl won't. It's just fair.
It's fair.
Okay, so I didn't even know, apparently he has leukemia, okay?
Yeah, that's what it is. That's blood cancer.
Yeah, but like it's not says that in the book.
No, but he says, I have cancer of the blood.
He says he has some specific disease, right? And I'm like, well, I don't know what that fucking disease is. You can have cancer of blood. I don't know if that's contagious.
That's pretty much all we have time for. If you want to get in touch with us, you can hear us on any of our social medias. We're on pretty much everything. If you just search Tales from the Twists, you should be able to find us. The main ones are iTunes and Facebook.
Give us a rating and review on iTunes.
Yep, and on Facebook we have a like page, but also we have a group called Chicken Twisties, and in that group you can contribute to the episodes like Pontillo and Nate did this week. So if you're keen on having your stuff read out, you can do that there.
Yeah, and if you want to tell us all about Battenberg cake, you can do it on Chicken Twisties.
That is true. My name is Joe Lewis.
And I'm Anthony Bull.
Have a great week, and stay twisty.